Hi everyone, this is Halak again and welcome to another Java tutorial session. In this tutorial I will be continuing with my GUI example from my previous lecture, and you recall I just created a very simple GUI here just to demonstrate various listeners or handlers. Okay, so we have our radio buttons, check boxes, combo box, and I demonstrated how to handle JList as well. Okay, so in this tutorial I will be discussing mouse events and how to handle them. Okay, so there's nothing to do for this GUI now. Okay, so I'm going to go right to the code to handle mouse events. Now I'm going to so far what I've been shown is that I've been showing these code. They're auto-generated and they're anonymous inner classes. Okay, so each time an event happens, a new instance of it is instantiated. So a new action listener is instantiated, and of course, because it is an anonymous inner class, you have to implement the methods associated with that class. Okay, so in this tutorial, I will be using an inner class. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so my inner class, I'm just going to call it, okay, so mouse handler. Hold on a minute. Oops. It seems to have a mouse handler already, but that's not what I want. I'm going to create my own. Okay, so handler. So I'm going to create the handler first, and then provide the code afterwards. Okay. Handler. Okay, so that's what we have. And of course, it's since we are still in the constructor, we have to be outside of it, but still be in the handler panel class here. Okay. All right. So private class. Okay. It's okay for it to be private, just because we will only be using it in this in the handler panel class. Okay. So this will be okay. Okay. So before I start with the mouse listener, their interfaces, I just have this set up first. Okay. All right. So now, okay, what I want to do is, so we have handler. Okay. But sorry, we need to have a panel for this. I forgot what this panel. What did I call it? All right. Wait. Okay, main panel. Okay, so main panel. Right. So main panel. Right, because this is the overall the main panel where we want to test our mouse events. Okay, so I'm gonna add. You know what? Before I do this, I'm going to comment that out. I'm going to implement the interfaces. Okay, so we have the interfaces. I apologize for that. There for mouse handling. There's two. There's mouse listener, and there's mouse motion listener. Okay, and we'll get into each one of those. All right. Okay, so that's what we have. All right. Of course, it's going to complain, so we have to implement the methods for it. Okay, and it's got all these different methods. We'll say okay for all of them. So all these are auto-generated for us. Okay, so the errors will load. Now let's go back to here. So just I didn't want to show so many errors, so I backtracked. Okay, so dot add mouse listener. Okay, and of course we are going to pass in the reference to our mouse handler object here. Okay, so that's what it is. So basically, what we're doing is that the add mouse listener requires an object where all the handlers exist. Okay, so a reference to it, which is what we did. And now we're gonna have to do the same thing for the motion one. Okay, so mouse motion listener. Right. And again, passing in the handler. Okay, so that's all we have so far. Now let's go and do each one. Okay, so for mouse clicked, I'm gonna use the output field that I have. You can just as easily use a label as well. Doesn't really matter. And then what we want to do is what I want to do is actually display where it's actually being clicked. Okay, so I'm going to be using a string format. I rarely use this, but which is okay. Clicked at, okay, and then we're going to actually do this. Okay, so these are basically I'll be providing an int value for each of these. Okay, so %d, that's what I mean. Okay, and then I'm going to close that off. That's fine. And now let's to make it a little cleaner. What we want to do is actually use this mouse event and say dot get. Okay, this is something that comes with the API. Okay, so you can get the x coordinate and the y coordinate as well. So d dot get y. Okay, all right. So there we go. All right. So that's for the mouse click. We can actually try that right now. So when we click inside of the main panel, the text actually gets displayed as to where we're actually clicking the mouse. Okay, so there it is, and we clicked here. So this is so I'm clicking, and then it displays where it is. All right, so great. Okay, so it doesn't work in the components because the components overlap. Okay, it doesn't make sense for it to do that because these have to capture the proper events. Okay, so for example here. Okay, but anywhere else in the panel is fine. Okay, so that's to note. So the next one is mouse press. Okay, so it handles the event when the mouse is pressed. This is pretty much the same thing that we have up here. Because we clicked press, it's pretty much the same thing. So I'm just going to copy it. I'm not even going to demonstrate it. Okay. Right. Now mouse released. Okay. And mouse release is again is all the same thing. So if I hold down my mouse and then I released it. Okay. Let's just write this so that was click earlier. Okay. So when I press and before I release, okay, it should actually register. Show that. So I'm going to change just the basically the text just to show you. Okay, so here released. All right, there we go. All right, we can actually test that now before we move further. Okay, so all right, so here, so I pressed, okay, and clicked. It didn't actually register the release. I think that was too fast. Okay, so anyways, but it should have. The click is there. It's pressed, released. That may have been a little too quick and you can't see it. But anyways, trust me when I say that when it's released, it also should register there. Okay, so we've shown the press. Okay, now the mouse entered. Okay, so we have mouse entered, and let's see. I'm gonna pretty much do the same thing, and then just change the string, and just say mouse entered. That okay. Right, so and then mouse exit. Why don't we just do that as well? That's the mouse drag. Okay, so mouse exit it. Alright. At that particular point, let's run it and try. So, oh, see that I did that already. So enter, exit, enter, exit. Okay, so there we go. That was pretty easy. Okay, now mouse drag. So when you're this is when voting when the mouse button is pressed on a component and then dragged. Okay, so let's try that. Again, I'm gonna just pretty much use the same thing, but I'm gonna change this. Drag that. Okay. What else? And then the last one is voting when the mouse cursor has been moved onto a component, but no buttons have been pushed. Okay. So again, just gonna display and just change this, move that. Okay. So there we go. Now let's try that. I'm gonna run it. Okay. So I'm gonna press a button and try to drag. Dragging. So, because I have, what I'm doing is I'm pressing the button and dragging. Okay. All right. And move. Well, that's easy. That's an easy demo. Okay. All right. So, all right. So I've shown. So to recap. Instead of using anonymous inner class, I've created a private inner class. Okay. And I implemented the mouse listener and mouse motion listener. Okay, and here you create. What I did was actually in the constructor I created an instance of mouse handler and pass it the reference. So for the panel, you want to add any of the listeners or handlers to this panel to listen for mouse events. I just added the handler, the pointer to the handler to both of them, and that should work. Right, and I shown that, and in fact it did. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and hope to see you again in the next one. Take care. Bye.